Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday, having a wonderful day. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I am dealing with some pretty bad traffic this morning. I actually woke up early and left early, thinking I was gonna get to work early, and now I'm probably just gonna get there on time because of this traffic for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on. So I'll do the best I can. Hopefully the traffic's not too distracting. Alright, so let's get right into it, guys. So you can see the title, right? So I want to talk a little bit about my experience dealing with any sort of racism. And then I'll talk a little bit about other people I know and their experiences that they've had dealing with racism. Okay, so I'm gonna start with myself. You know, I guess I could say I am relatively fortunate in this area. I personally haven't dealt with any racism directly, like, to my face, and I'll explain what that means. So some of you guys have seen my other video about my wife in our marriage and our relationship, so you're familiar with that. That is the most I've dealt with personally. I'm very fortunate to say that I've never had anybody like explicitly call me, you know, anything racist to my face. I've never had any situations like directly face to face with someone else where, you know, I was experiencing something that had to do with race. Even with, you know, me being married to someone who's white and, you know, going out in public and different things like that. And I live in a predominantly white area. And I still, even us to this day, as long as we lived out there, we haven't dealt with any issues. I went to a predominantly white high school. I didn't deal with any issues there either. So I guess I could say I'm pretty fortunate. But I also feel like the reality of what's going on may be not as truthful as we think. Okay? I have my sunglasses on. Now the sun's beaming in my face. What I mean by that is, a lot of the time, people come to the conclusion of how America is based on what we see on the news. And if the news has taught us anything, to not trust it. Mainstream media is just junk at this point. Now, obviously, racism does exist in America. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that it doesn't. It definitely does. But I feel like it's almost in pockets. As in, there are some areas where it's really bad, but in most areas it's not, right? Now, everybody's experience is different. You know, the area I live in, I haven't dealt with anything, but there could be other people that have dealt with certain things. And it's not even always just racism between, like, white and black people, right? It could be racism between people that are, you know, Middle Eastern or Asian or from any other place in the world. Right? It could be racism. And yes, there can be racism against white people. That is a thing, okay? I know some people believe that, you know, oh, you can't be racist against a white person. Yes, you can. Very, very possible. Definitely true. It goes both ways. But yes, I personally have not dealt with anything. Now, actually, speaking of the area I live in, so my cousin, she works at a McDonald's. She's in high school in the area that I live in, and she actually told me that, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, she actually had a weird thing happen to her at work. So she was, you know, working the register, and her lane was open, and there was like an older white guy in line, and he was next. So she was like, hey, you know, come on over here, I'm open. And apparently she like made direct eye contact with this guy multiple times told her to come over to her register, and he just would not do it. And they made eye contact, and he just would not. And then I guess the register in front of him was another one of her co-workers, and I guess she was white. And as soon as she opened up, he went right up to her, no problem. So she said it was really awkward, and she just has no idea why he wouldn't come over to her register, right? Now, I don't know if 100% if it was because she was black. Obviously, he didn't say that to her face or anything like that. But, I mean, I think you can kind of insinuate in a situation like that, you know, what else could it have been? I mean, I have no idea. I guess you could say, oh, maybe he just didn't feel like walking over to that register. I doubt that. There was a person in front of him waiting, and she was open next. And he clearly just did not want to go to her register. I don't know what other reason there'd be for that. So, you know, she had that weird situation, and that's where I live. But like I said, where I live, I've never dealt with anything directly. I've never worked in that area either, to where, actually, no, I have. I did work in that area. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I guess I'm just fortunate. I haven't had to deal with it. But it definitely does exist. And I'm definitely not denying that it does. I just think that a lot of things get blown out of proportion, especially on the news. And we see a lot of things out there that tell us that, you know, all across America, it's crazy and everyone's racist. And I don't necessarily think that's the truth. I think that most people are reasonable. Most people obviously believe racism is bad. If they didn't, we live in a very different country. But I don't want to take away from anybody who's also dealt with and been in those situations as well, right? Because it definitely exists. It definitely is a true thing. I have a friend that I know, he worked somewhere a few years ago. I think it was Taco Bell, and kind of in the same area I live in now. And some guy called him the N-word in the drive-thru. So, yeah, again, it does exist. I think it's just most people are not that way, and there are a few bad apples, you know, that kind of ruin the bunch, so to speak. So a few bad actors make everybody look bad, and I think that's really what we deal with a lot today. So I'd love to hear other people's stories, you know, for those that have gone through it and haven't really had to deal with it much, you know, like I have, which hopefully that's the case for most people. I really hope that's true, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, obviously I've not talked to every person that lives in this country, or I've not read every story of every incident that occurs. But when you watch the news, they make it sound like it's just constantly these different things all the time. And they want to, you know, make everything about race because it makes for a good headline. But everything's not always about race. And I'll be the first person to say that. I really do believe not everything is about race. Even though people like to throw that out all the time and use it, it's kind of become overused at this point, to where now we can't even tell situations where it really is racism and situations where it's not, and someone's just using that card, you know, to try to have an advantage or try to win a situation where they may be at fault. So we have to stop throwing out the race card when the race card is not valid, because it's constantly a thing, and we need to reserve it for when it's accurate, right? We need to point it out when it's actually true. If we don't do that, if we just throw it out every time something happens involving a black and a white person, then eventually we can't tell the difference between true racism and not racism, and the lines become blurred, and then the problem doesn't, you know, get any closer to actually being solved. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that today. Obviously that is a very controversial thing. You're gonna have people split down the middle on what they believe and what they've experienced, and I totally understand that. Everybody's experience is different, but I would like to hear other people's experiences as well. Okay, so if you have a minute, please leave me a comment. You know, let me know your story. I want to hear those things, and I think spreading those stories and that information just kind of helps people with awareness and understanding of what's really going on around them. You know, and not just necessarily listening to what they see on the news or what they're getting fed from the media, okay? So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, guys. I really appreciate that. You know, it shows that I'm doing the right thing, that, you know, I am creating content that people want to watch and people do enjoy. Also, please subscribe to the channel. That way you can get the latest videos as they go up. As many of you know, I do post Monday through Friday, right? So I have a pretty regular schedule. Occasionally I might take a day off here or there, but I'm pretty consistent. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Be safe out there, and have a good day.